Hi, and welcome to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. I'm your host, Ray Treverson from OTG Capital. We broadcast locally on Radio Northern Beaches and around Australia on the Community Radio Network, complements of the Community Broadcast Association of Australia. And just in case you're wondering, there's about 420 odd community radio stations out there. Quite a lot. A lot of regional stations pick us up. So big hello to the people that occasionally pop me an email out in the regional centres of our wide and brown country. And so I welcome back to the microphone and the camera Justin Bott, who is the Media Information Manager for Services Australia. You may know them as Centrelink. And I guess, Justin, even though the brand has been changed now for quite a while, I actually heard a song recently on Triple J that they talk about a settling summer. They still refer to the payments as settling payments. I guess you can't shake that one, can you?
No, legislatively, they are settling payments. So that's why we administer Centrelink. There's definitely Medicare and Medicare support and Centrelink support. So the age pension is still a Centrelink payment, but it's being administered by Services Australia.
So it's topical because it's that time of year, and we are actually going to be talking about Centrelink payments and what you have to do around this time of year, being tax time. Now, I guess fascinatingly, it's one of those interesting things. It's not always self-apparent, and so I think it's really good that you come back on the show to do again a little bit of explanation. So firstly, I know we can lodge our tax returns from the 1st of July, but when should we actually lodge them? Is it good to go, later, or 1st of July if you want to get your money back? So what's the story there?
Certainly, with a focus on payments from Centrelink, you will have your Centrelink payment summary available very early in the month of July, and that means that you could lodge your tax return from that moment onwards, and you probably get them from your employer and other sources of income very early in the month. And if you want to or need to do that, you are absolutely more than welcome to do that. But what we actually recommend is that if you can afford to, it's a good idea to wait towards the end of the month, because at the end of the month, it all gets pre-populated, it gets pre-filled by the Australian Taxation Office. So by the end of the month, they basically take all your sources of taxable income, so your dividends from your shares and your bank interest and the income from wages and any payments from Services Australia that are taxable, and they will then pre-populate the tax return, which means that, first of all, it's going to be much easier for you because it's all going to be there for you, and it's more a case of confirming rather than tracking everything down. But it also means less likely to be making mistakes, missing out on sources of income, something that you might have forgotten. I worked for somebody for 2 days in August, and I forgot about it by the time June comes by, but the ATO's got it, and they're able to pre-populate. So allowing it to wait, allowing the ATO to pre-fill just makes that whole process easier and hopefully more accurate for you as well.
And I think people should remember, a lot of people don't pay wages, they don't run businesses and the like. And as a small business owner myself at OTG Capital, we do pay salaries to people that do work for us, etc. STP, single touch payroll, now makes life easier for us when we're doing our documentation back to the ATO, but that's what helps government actually do all this pre-fill. And so I was explaining to my kids when I help them do their taxes, and it's so much easier now because when you open it up in the website, the ATO website, it's all sitting there, all ready to go. So all you're really doing is matching what you thought you're going to do. And again, you're absolutely right. Particularly with a lot of itinerant jobs, not everyone's always full bottle on what they did or didn't take home as taxable income.
Yes, more often the expenses you'll need to provide because nobody's got those for you, but the actual income sources hopefully will be there. But again, acknowledging that if you can afford to wait. So if you know that you've got you expect that you're going to get a payment back from the ATO and you need that money sooner, then I can fully understand the sooner you go, the sooner that money will be in your bank account.
Sure.
But if you can afford to wait, then it's just going to be an easier process.
And again, I think on processing times, it's a lot faster now that the returns get processed and returns or bills get sent out. So I guess the next question I've got, so if you are getting a government payment, do you have to lodge a tax return?
So it's always important to remember the difference between having taxable income and actually having to pay tax. So if you're getting something like the full rate of a pension or a job seeker payment, they are taxable income, but that just because they're taxable income doesn't mean they actually meet the threshold that require you to actually lodge a tax return. So it may well be that, yes, you have a taxable income, but you're not earning enough based on the ATO tax thresholds. That doesn't require you to actually lodge a tax return. But if in doubt, or if you're not really sure, certainly if you have other sources of income that might be involved in that, you worked a few days here or worked a month there, and you're not really sure whether you're in that position or not, then the easiest way to check is actually go to the ATO website. They've got a tool. It's very self-explanatory. It's called Do I Need to Lodge a Tax Return tool. So if you go to the ATO and you type in, do I need to lodge a tax return? It will take you to a tool, and that tool will be able to give you information about that. So that's the ato.gov.au. You can find it there. But in saying all of that, there may be other reasons why you lodge a tax return, even if you're not actually expecting to get taxes. So could be things like investment properties where you've got to declare your income and you've got to go through that process. And it's also important for Services Australia that you got that information. Or you've got fully franked shares and you've got dividends that are actually being held by the ATO, waiting to find out what the rest of your taxable income is. And although you might not need to lodge a full tax return to get that money, you do need to lodge something with the Australian Taxation Office to make sure you get your dividend paid back to you. So it may be that you're lodging a tax return because of other sources, other reasons, but when it comes to straight out income, do I need to lodge a tax return on the ATO website will be the way that you can find out the best way to go.
Right, I love it. KISS principle, keep it nice and simple. So I guess that in that case then, Services Australia would then issue a payment summary, or if you're a bit older, we used to call them group certificates. But again, payment summaries, because you get them from employers, so they will issue them, and usually they're done automatically, because with single touch payroll now, it's all done automatically. So what kind of information will people find on their payment summaries?
Well, you're quite right. So the payment summary is going to take out the taxable portion of for a pension, for example. And it is worth saying that although the age pension is taxable, not all of the supplements and those sorts of things are taxable. So you don't just look at what you get paid every fortnight, times that by 26 and say that's what my taxable income is. There are proportions of the age pension that are taxable and not, based on the history of certainly how those supplements came into play. So yes, Services Australia will give you a payment summary that will be available again the beginning of the month, around early in July. It will have all of your sources of taxable income from Services Australia on it. But if you wait, that will then also be translated across and pre-filled with the ATO, as will all of your other taxable income sources. So we do the same thing an employer does. We'll pass that information on to the ATO. So if you can wait, it'll just join up with the rest of your taxable income, make that whole process easier for you. But the nice thing about this whole process is that you will actually be told by the ATO through their MyTax, which is linked to MyGov, when you're ready to go. So they'll actually send you a notice that says the information's been pre-filled. You can now lodge your tax return easily from that point.
I think it's worthy maybe just take a little bit of a sidebar discussion and talk a little bit about MyGov and the website, because I think there are a few things that people may or may not be doing. And so when I first started using MyGov and discovering, all the myriad of different services, I'm an ex-veteran, so I have defence stuff happening. I've also got Medicare, and I used to get family tax benefits when my 3 kids were still at that age. But the linking between the agencies, is that something that's done automatically, or is that something that people actually have to do?
It's something that you have to do, but the ATO was one of the first people to jump on MyGov, as was Services Australia. So when you start up a MyGov account, it will actually ask you to choose the member services that you want to link up with. So then you nominate the ones that you want to be involved with. Now, if I did all of my taxes through a tax agent or an accountant and they took care of all the business for me, then what am I going to be doing with MyGov on my own? But having MyGov linked to the Australian Taxation Office means that with my phone, I can find out the payment summary that I have from any agencies. Also, all the super connections are all in it as well. So it's a great way. They've got to track your super is available through your MyGov account. So if there's any super funds that you haven't really been paid attention to for a couple of years, you can actually find that through your MyGov account linked to your Australian Taxation Office, either through the MyGov website, which is my.gov.au, or the official MyGov app. you haven't done it yet and you need to find out how to do it, then go to the MyGov website again, that my.gov.au, so my.gov.au. Very self-explanatory how to actually create a MyGov account if you haven't done that already, how to then link the services to it. Now, in saying that, by far the majority of us already had a MyGov account because we needed to get it for verification that we'd been through COVID, that we had the proper injections and everything. We were
I was about to say,
vaccinated.
The link,
that's the one.
the link with Medicare
Yes,
also
so
provides that vaccination certification. And something I might also highlight to those that are out there that have studied and incurred a HECS debt, not a HECS death, but a HECS debt. You can also see where you're at that in that regard. And I think people are going to be looking at that very keenly when Parliament comes back in July. And
I'm just going to throw something out there as well, because
Sure.
we're talking about these online services, but that's on the assumption that everybody knows how to use them. You might have a smartphone, you've got the ability to use it, but you're not comfortable. Services Australia actually offers you can make an appointment to sit down at your local customer service centre and spend 15 to 45 minutes with somebody to teach you how to use your phone. So we're calling it digital coaching.
Cool.
So if you want to use your online services better, for example, I'm on a pension, I've got a smartphone, I need to update my bank account. Instead of using it to ring somebody, I can just update my bank account on my phone, but I just really don't feel confident to do that. You can go into your local office, you can call Services Australia on your normal phone number, ask to speak to one of our digital coaches, which is really just any officer there. But the point is that they will book a time, set the time aside with you with your phone, and actually teach you how to use it to take advantage of what's out there. So we talk about doing it online, we talk about using your phone. There are teaching services available, all for free, all through Services Australia, so take advantage of it.
We love free stuff here on OTG Capital's Dollars and Making Sense. We love free stuff. So that's another free service, ladies and gents, that are available to us as taxpayers. So look, we're about half time. You're here on Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money and investing. Really pleased to have at the microphone Justin Bott, the Media Information Officer from Services Australia /Centrelink. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, and thank you for listening to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly radio program about finance, money and investing on Radio Northern Beaches and nationally on the Community Radio Network around Australia. The views, comments and opinions aired during our program should not be construed or viewed as financial advice. Any commentary is general advice only and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation or needs. You should consider whether the advice is suitable for you and your personal circumstances. If in doubt, you should contact an authorised licensed financial planner. We welcome questions and feedback, and you can get in touch with us via our blog, social media channels or email. Please search for Dollars and Making Sense in your favourite podcast platform or check out our blog at otgcapital.com.au/blog. Hi, and welcome back to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money and investing. I'm your host, Ray Treverson. I'm really pleased to have at the microphone again Justin Bott, who is the Media Information Officer from Services Australia, a lovely government organisation that you may know as Centrelink as well. And today we're talking about tax and your Centrelink payments. Now, interesting, the next piece, I think, is one of those things, again, because we've got so many itinerant workers out there these days in gig economy. If the payment you get is taxable from the government, can I have tax taken out for me like an employer does, or is that something that's got to be settled up at tax time?
You can actually volunteer to have part of your taxable payment referred to or sent to the ATO on your behalf, so that the ATO will actually hold it for you, so that when you lodge your tax return, just like the employer has set aside money, then they send to the ATO. It means that instead of getting a larger bill because you've had the tax taken out of your wages and then this taxable pension paid on top that you hadn't taken into account, you've partially taken that into account. But there's a couple of things you need to know about that one. Firstly, it's completely voluntary, so it's entirely up to you if you want to do it. Secondly, we're not going to give you any guidance at all about how much you want to take out, so it's entirely up to you to nominate a figure and you can stop it whenever you want to. But thirdly, and importantly, do you actually need to do it? So this is only something that you would consider, as you're talking about, Ray, if you've got some other source of potential taxable income that this is going to add to mean that your tax burden is going to be bigger than you thought it was going to be, or tax bill,
Yeah.
I should say. So if you're a full rate pensioner and you have this put in place, then all that practically means is that at the end of the financial year, you've let the Australian Taxation Office hold part of your pension instead of having it in your bank account, and then you've got to ask for them to give it back. So that would be a bit annoyance, a bit of an inconvenience.
Sure.
So first of all, make sure you're actually in a position where you have to pay tax. If that's the case, then you can nominate to have part of your pension paid every fortnight to the ATO, so that when it comes tax time, that one-off bill isn't necessarily going to be as big as it might otherwise have been.
So I want to move on a little bit, because I know when I was actually claiming for and receiving a family tax benefit A and B, and it got a little complex, but I just put it in the documentation, and not an insubstantial amount of cash started flowing my way, because with 3 kids at certain ages, even when you're earning a reasonable amount of money, it's still very handy additional funds that are coming in, helping to pay, and particularly, it's so topical, cost of living, expenses, etc. Sometimes I say to people, make sure you're getting everything that you're entitled to. Now, there are implications if you are getting payments in this area. So things like family tax benefit and childcare subsidies. What do you have to do with these around tax time?
So if you're getting your payments, your family tax benefit or childcare subsidy every fortnight, and you don't have to do that. You can actually, if you can afford to, wait until the end of the financial year and get the whole lot paid as a lump sum. But the majority of people don't do that. They get it paid every fortnight. In order for it to be paid every fortnight, it's actually going to be based on an estimate of your income for the current financial year. So in this case, it's the 2024-25 financial year. Now, at the end of the financial year, it comes to what we call balancing. And balancing is the process where we compare the estimate of your income for the financial year with your actual income from the financial year based on your tax returns. So if you're getting payments from Services Australia, if you're getting the family tax benefit childcare subsidy, when you lodge your tax return, you need to let Services Australia know. Importantly, you need to let Services Australia know if you didn't actually have to lodge your tax return. So for example, your partner's working and you're not, they've lodged their tax return, that's fine. You've got no income, there's no reason to lodge a tax return. We need to know that that's the case. Otherwise, we're not going to keep waiting for a tax return that's never going to come, because we don't actually know for sure that you didn't lodge one. So not just about lodging a tax return, but it's also about letting Services Australia know that you didn't need to lodge a tax return. But again, everybody's circumstances are different. So one of the things you need to do, if you want to, is you go to our website. In this case, it's servicesaustralia.gov.au. The title of this tool is just as good as the Australian Taxation Office one. This is called What Families Need to Do at Tax Time tool. So if you look for the What Families Need to Do at Tax Time tool, every family is sort of different with the different payments that you might be receiving. That will give you guidance about that. But don't look yet. It's same with the ATO. This is a 1st of July sort of thing. So wait until the 1st of July and then have a look, and then the information will be there.
I'm just picturing right now, I have a lot of family that live in Canberra and work for the public service. People sitting around a desk in a boardroom, having a marketing discussion, saying, okay, what are we going to call this website that's going to help people at tax time, that get family payments? I know, let's call it, what do you need to do at tax time if you're getting family payments?
The exact question that you're asking, let's call it that. That's going to make it easy for everybody.
I bet you they thought long. I hope they didn't pay a marketing agency for that. They were able to brainstorm that one, or should I say ideation now with an AI bot. Oh, I love that term. Sorry. Anyway, another one. So I guess the big issue then is balancing payments. Is there anything else that your customers then need to be doing for family tax benefit and childcare subsidies? Are there sort of checks and balances? Because I know I actually, when I was getting family tax benefit, I waited till the end of the year and took it as a bit of a lump sum and a bit of a, it was something that we used to go on little holidays somewhere, but we didn't, we always enjoyed the payment, but we kept it at a certain time of the year. But that makes life easier. But if you're doing fortnightly, you got to be a bit more careful, don't you?
Yeah. So if you do it a lump sum, we won't actually balance you because we're not comparing it. We're looking at what was your income. We know what you're eligible for. we pay you exactly what you're entitled to. When it comes to balancing, there are three potential outcomes. The first one is pretty much that. You estimated this income, you're pretty much dead on, so you got what you're entitled to, there's no change. You estimated your income, but your actual income was lower than that, so you're entitled to more than we paid you, so we'll give you a top-up. Or you estimated your income and your actual income was higher than that, and so we've actually paid you more than you're entitled to, and we're going to ask for some of that money back. But that's all part of the process. The thing about, certainly if you're getting your payments every fortnight because you need the money every fortnight, the whole cost of living, it's very easy and safe if I wait till the end of the financial year, but that means I don't get it until the end of the financial year. I need it now, which is fine. That's designed in order for that to happen. The most important part, if that's your circumstance, is to make sure that the estimate that you give us is as good as it can be. So when we come to the end of the financial year, you've provided your taxable information, you've now got a good clue of what your income might be for the next financial year, so it's time to update that estimate. Which you can do whenever you make contact with Services Australia, or even anytime you want to, again, with MyGov link to Centrelink. You're able to update your family tax benefit or childcare subsidy estimate whenever you want. Partner gets a bonus. It's a taxable bonus. We should be updating the estimate. There's going to be a promotion or any other business change, should be updating the estimate to reflect that's happened. So, yeah, the main message for those two payments, when you lodge your tax return, now it's a good time to make sure that estimate is updated for the new, in this case, it'll be 25-26 financial year.
And I guess at this time of year, it's really sad that we have to talk about this, but I think it's absolutely vital that we do, is that this is also going to be a time of year when there's going to be increased activity from scammers and fraudsters. And I saw something even just today that really caught my eye, where they're replacing the A with acrylic A. So one looks like the old ampersand A, and then the other one is a full rounded A. One is a Russian acrylic A, the other one is the English A, and again, depending on the font. But the thing that they're doing is that they're making standard website names look really familiar, as in exactly the same, because it's an A and an A, but it's a slight variation that then sends them off to a spoof website. I think there's some basics when dealing with Services Australia that you guys never ever do, and I think it's worth going over that again. So what are some of the basic, real big tips to prevent being done in by?
Yep. Yeah, so the risk is, yes, we know tax time is coming, scammers know tax time is coming, and they're being just as active, unfortunately, and as sophisticated as they can be to try and convince people that they are a legitimate contact from Services Australia, Australian Taxation Office, MyGov. So big tips. First of all, we don't send you links in any emails or text messages, or we're not coming to you through social media either. All our emails or text messages would basically say is, you have a message in your MyGov inbox, and we want you, and don't click on this link. If it says click on this link,
don't click on that link either.
That's not it. That's a lie as well. It'll just say you have a message in the MyGov inbox. We want you to log into MyGov, if you like the longer way around. Go to my.gov.au, do the proper passwords and everything. Use the official MyGov app and your phone's facial recognition and the multi-factor authentication processes, so that when you're in MyGov, you know it's MyGov, it's legitimately MyGov, and you can trust anything that's in there. Some other tips is, again, if it's come out of nowhere, this is a big one. If the contact has come out of nowhere, then be really suspicious. Why are they getting in contact with me now? I haven't done an update for 6 months. I haven't claimed anything for ages, but why are they now getting in contact with me? Be wary if they're making promises of money or threats is another big one. Do this and we'll give you a bonus. But another one that's out there, it's not so much a scam, and it's not actually dangerous to you as an individual. It's called clickbaiting. And they'll give a title in an article that says, older Australians are entitled to another $670 a fortnight, or a one-off bonus or whatever. And realistically, here's an article, find out more about it. That's all a lie. None of it's legitimate. They're not worried about who clicks on it. They just want to be able to go back to the advertisers and say, look, we've got now 200,000 people have clicked on this article, therefore start giving us ad money coming through. The fact that it's a fake is just illegitimate. It doesn't matter. They've just got the ability to have all these people looking at their articles. So it's not going to hurt you as an individual if they do that, but we're just, again, supporting wrong information being out there. So be wary of that sort of stuff as well.
Okay, so look, we're just about done for a time today, Justin. It's always amazing how quickly we get through our allotted time, but I think we've covered some really interesting and very, very important ground today. So some key things: if you are receiving a payment from the government, you may have to put in a tax return. And as you've rightly pointed out, if you need to find out, go to the ATO website and ask it, do I need to put in a tax return? I love that one. I absolutely love it. And so we've talked a little bit about family tax benefits and childcare subsidies. So make sure that you are nominating the right amount of income and rebalance if that's what you need to do. And I think finally, a couple of takeaways, Justin. Where do they need to go?
If you want to find out more about tax, obviously the Australian Taxation Office is a great place to go, but MyGov actually has a whole section on tax as well. So the MyGov website, which is my.gov.au, and you just have a look at /tax time. So my.gov.au/tax time, and there'll be information there for you. But again, that's a 1st of July thing. So wait until the 1st of July for the new financial year information, and they'll take it from there.
Great. And we've given you some good freebies today. Drop into Sea Services Australia if you want to learn. So those of you that aren't comfortable around some tech, there are people out there that will help you, and it's free of charge coming from your government agencies. Love it. Justin, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I know we've got to do part 2 on this very shortly. So thanks for being on Dollars and Making Sense.
Thanks so much for having me.